الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا يحبونهم كحب الله والذين آمنوا أشد حبا لله ولو يرى الذين ظلموا إذ يرون العذاب أن القوة لله جميعا وأن الله شديد العذاب صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, ayat number 165 of Surah Al-Baqarah I just recited. The main mawdu' or theme of this ayah is the topic of mahabba, the topic of love or hubb. And this is amongst the many unique ayat of the Quran. Every ayat of the Quran has its own unique characteristics. The unique characteristic of this ayah amongst the many characteristics that it has, ayat number 165, is that this is an ayah about hubb, about love. This is one of the very few ayat in the Quran where the love Allah, which is Ismul Dhat, the love Allah, the Ismul Dhat, it comes in this ayah 5 times. And it is very particular in its meaning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this ayah, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, and from amongst the people, from amongst mankind, man is that person يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا, who takes partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has made partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ, these mushrikeen who have associated partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they love those idols, they love those partners, they love those false idols that they worship. They love them كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ, as they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, as for those who have iman, the believers, أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ, their love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is much more intense. وَلَوْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا, and if only those who did dhulm, here in reference to the shirk, وَلَوْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا إِذْ يَرَوْنَ الْعَذَابِ, and you could only see those who committed this oppression by associating partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you could only see their condition, إِذْ يَرَوْنَ الْعَذَابِ, when they see the final punishment, and they come to this realization, أَنَّ الْقُوَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا, that all power belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعَذَابِ, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is very severe in His punishment. Before I continue, I make a humble request that if you're not muted, please mute yourselves. Jazakumullah. So this ayat number 165, in reference to the hubb and mahabba, the aspect of love. In this ayah, the love of Allah comes 5 times. One of very few ayat. There's hardly 3 or 4 ayat in the Quran, not even 5 ayat in the Quran, that have the love of Allah in one ayah repeated 5 times. And this ayat, the main mawdu' and topic of this ayah, is the topic of love. Coming to rabat and connection, and why this is particularly mentioned, the aspect of love. The rabat and connection of this ayah, ayat number 165, verse number 165 of Surah Al-Baqarah, the rabat and connection of this verse with the previous ayat, this connection goes all the way back to ayat number 163. It goes back 2 ayahs. In ayat number 163, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about ilah, that being that is deserving of being worshipped. Wa ilahukum ilahu wahid, your ilah is one ilah. One of the many meanings of ilah, when you go into the depth of the Arabic language, that it has a few terms that it comes from as far as the meaning is concerned. One is aliha yu'lahu, which is the aspect of hope. But there's also another meaning, which is the meaning of wilah or ilah. In Arabic, when you get to the grammar, you understand that there's one part of grammar in Arabic language. And again, Arabic grammar is something that requires a long period of time and study, and it's a very unique topic. A lot of it involves memory and memorization when you get to the sarf and the nahru, the various forms of the Arabic grammar. But there is one subject in the Arabic grammar that you study, the haft aqsami fi'l, the 7 types of fi'l. And in that, there are some words where the letters waw, alif, ya, and hamza, waw, ya, these 3 letters, y, or waw, alif, ya, sometimes in some words, they're interchangeable. So you have the 7 types of fi'l, and sometimes the waw will change into alif, sometimes the waw will change into ya, the ya will change into alif, the ya will change into waw, like this. They switch amongst each other. And there are different, again, categories, the 7 types of categories, sahih, hasla, mithal, hasla, mudha'af, lafif, naqis, mahmuz, and ajwaf. There are 7 categories of these types of words. You have sahih, mithal, mudha'af, lafif, naqis, and mahmuz, and ajwaf. And there are different aspects of the words, whereas there are different aspects of these words where some of these words, one letter is repeated more than once, or a hamza comes in the letter, or the hamza is replaced with waw, the waw is replaced with hamza, and so on and so forth. Now, we're not going to get into all the details of the Arabic grammar, but one of the things about the word ilah that some of the grammarians have mentioned, the scholars of sarf have mentioned, is that this term ilah, it may have a root term from wilah, where the waw was then replaced with a hamza. And if you check the wilah, walaha yulah, or wilaha, or uluhiyya, that this waw, when you take that meaning of wilah, then wilah is that thing that you love, or that thing you've fallen in love with, and that love is so intense that it is the most intense love. And that most intense love is so intense that even a person is willing to lose their life for that thing that they love. So the Arabs, they have, when you get into the Arabic language and the experts in the Arabic language, and they have given various categories to love, and the most intense form is wilah. So that also then again becomes ilah, the object of worship, that thing that you love so much that you even love more than your own self. And love is an amazing thing. Speaking about mahabba itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a system in this universal domain through which the creatures in the earth, those creatures that we know about, we also ourselves as a human society, in our society as human beings, and also you can extend this to the other creatures as well to some degree. When we speak about love, love has different types. And there are different forms of love, and there are different applications of love. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this system that we may understand. And this is again within our society, that one thing can have various forms in its depiction and in its display. So when you speak about love, mahabba, one form of love is the love that we have for our parents. We love our parents more than any other person alive in our life that we should love. And that is why the level of respect is there, the level of ita'ah is there, obedience is there. And this is one type of love. For those who understand, again, I want to emphasize this point, understand what respect of parents is, then one can really realize what kind of service is required in serving the parents. And we'll come back to these types. There's another type of love that the parents have for the children. This is also love. The parents, they love their children. There's another type of love that is the love between spouses, husband and wife. It's also one type of love. There's another type of love, another type of mutual understanding, which also can form into a type of love and care, is love between friends. Some friends, there's a love between siblings, and then the love between friends. And there's some friends can become almost like family. We almost treat them like siblings, like brother and sister. And there's also one type of love. So each one of these forms of love have their own demands. The way we express our love with our siblings is very different than the way love will be expressed with our parents. We will fight with our siblings, we'll disagree with our siblings, we will argue with our siblings, we'll shout with our siblings. But if our sibling gets into any kind of trouble or goes through pain, at least if we have developed a connection with them, we'll be the first one to stand and help them. Even if we may not agree with them, we may argue with them, we may in some form almost hate them, at least on the apparent level it may seem as if we're enemies. But someone else comes in the middle and harms our sibling. That's unacceptable. No one else is allowed to do that to ours. So that's our job, to fight with our sibling. No one else should do that. That's one type of love. And then that type of love is never expressed with the parents. We should not, again, and I emphasize, we should not argue and shout and cause any kind of harm to our parents. The unfortunate reality is living in this Western culture in this 21st century. And again, this is not a Western culture per se. This is more an effect of the 21st century, the impact of the society, the impact of everything that is going on. Because if you go back even not too long ago, even in this Western culture, there was a sense of respect for the parents. And it's still there in some of the generation. When you go to the older generation, there is a sense of respect, a sense of reverence for the parents. You will not find that certain class of elders will ever speak ill of their parents, even if their parents were not the best people in the world, but they will not speak ill of their parents. It's not common to hear, at least in good cultures, that someone would speak ill of their parents. And if the person is raised properly. But on the other side, if someone is not raised properly, then that's a different story. So again, that is also one type of love, that the love of the parents. The same applies to the love for the children. If someone has children, you do not love your children the way you love your parents or the way that you love your siblings. The love of the children is very different. In fact, there is a kind of formula given to the love of children, because with children, there's a sense of tarbiyah. There's a sense of teaching the child, training the child, raising the child. In raising the child, you have to teach the child many things. So there is a kind of formula that is formulated in how to raise the child. Different cultures have different aspects of how it is raised. Some of the wise sage, those that were wise elders, have given a kind of formula that the first 7 years of the child are the child's children age. You just love the child because it's a child, it's a baby, it's an infant. For the first 7 years, just pure love, mahabba. Then when the child becomes 7 years of age, this is when the tarbiyah starts, when you start teaching the child. Because now the child has reached an age of, this is the spark age of aql, of intellect. Now the child starts thinking about many things, what is right, what is wrong. He starts to understand and recognize the difference between right and wrong. The child has become aqil now, has become intelligent now, or at least starts to become intelligent now. So from the age of 7 until the age of 14, there's the time of teaching the child. And sometimes you even have to be strict with teaching. In teaching a child, sometimes you have to be strict. A lot of strictness is required. It's not that this is not the time to become friend with the child. It's the time to really teach this is the prime age. If one is not strict with the child between these age 7 years old and 14 years old, these 7 years, if you're not strict with the raising of the child, after 14 years old, the child will not, it's not the time to teach them adab now. It's not the time to teach them character. But these 7 years is the time to really teach them, train them, teach them akhlaq, teach them adab, teach them what is right and wrong, and really do it in a strict way. Become a teacher. And a good teacher. Remember, good teachers are not always the nicest teachers. And good teachers are very strict. They have a set of principles and they stick to that. That's what a good teacher is. And sometimes you will even have to reprimand the child. And this is also the time to understand the proper reprimanding. When you reprimand the child, you should not be excessive in reprimanding, otherwise that will be oppression. And you should not give very little reprimandation, otherwise the child will not understand the severity of some mistake. It should be just appropriate. That also, again, requires wisdom. So from the age of 7 to the age of 14, this is the age of understanding and teaching the child. This is also a type of love. It's also called tough love. The time when the child is trained. Then there's another stage that starts from the age of 14 to the age of 21. From the age of 14 to the age of 21, again, this is what the wise sages have given. From the age of 14 to the age of 21 is the time you become a friend with the child. You become their friend. You become their companion. This is the time that is better that they become your friend and they trust you than they go and trust someone else. They should be able to open up and tell you everything. They should be able to share with you their feelings, their emotions. Because if this is not taken care of, this is the time where the child goes through a very unique and very difficult stage, where the child is now becoming an adult. The responsibility of adulthood are starting. At the age of 15, this is again a very important age. Even in Islam, when the child becomes 15, so now they're baligh, they're an adult, they're mature. In fact, even in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this person will not be tried as a child, he'll be tried as an adult now. So from the age of 15, this is where now is their full mature child. But at this time, since it's it's a turning point in the life of every person, there's a time when the parents must recognize to have more conversations, more dialogue, more friendship, time to open up. By the age of 20 and 21, the child has grown up enough. Then now it is their stage to move on towards having their own family. But if that relationship of friendship has been properly established, so then that child can become a great asset and can become a very, very great helper and supporter and friend and really take care of the parents. Again, this is just a kind of outline that our elders or the wise mashayikh, the shuyukh have given as kind of an outline. Even you find many of this in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You find an indication to many of these. Muru awladakum bis salah wa hum sab'un. That command your children to pray salah when they are 7. Wadribuhum, and even beat them if they don't pray when they're 10. So it's kind of like showing that be strict with the children with their salah. If you get them in the habit of praying the salah in the young age, then when they grow up, they'll never give it up. They will not give up salah. Again, this is just the system that the love of the children is very different than a kind of love that we have for other groups. There's also one type of love. So this is just the different categories and the different types of love. But one unique thing that we should understand is that when it comes to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one thing about mahabba and about love that we understand in our world as human beings that as insan, as human beings, mahabba or love is generally developed on very particular conditions. Our love as human beings, it is attached to very, very particular things. One of the greatest factors for a human being to love someone is the factor of ihsan, kindness. Someone does a favor to us, and that favor is a very great favor. The greater the favor that is done to us, the greater our admiration and love will be for that person, if we are humans. Again, the condition is it's a human being. There are some humans that don't necessarily have human traits. So them, no matter how much love you show them, eventually they'll come back and they have a different kind of nature. There are some people that when you help them, they find ways to harm you. I'm not talking about those type of people. There's a famous fable that is given about human nature. There's a fable that is written about human nature. And there are many, this fable is written in many different ways, in different poetry, and in different languages, in different cultures. It is expressed in different ways. The way that it is expressed, or that was expressed in the Greek and Italian systems, is that there was again, it's just a fable, but there's a very deep lesson in the fable, is that there was a scorpion sitting on the side of the pond. So a toad came and asked the scorpion, "What are you doing sitting here?" And the scorpion said that I realize this is a very large body of water. I need to get across, but I cannot swim across. I don't have this kind of strength. So the toad, frog, the toad tells the scorpion, "No problem. You get on my back and I will take you across." So the scorpion gets on the back of this toad. The toad takes the scorpion across the pond. When they get to the other end, the scorpion gets off. So scorpion, when it gets off, it turns around and it stung the toad. So the toad asked the scorpion, "Why did you sting me? You can almost kill me. Why did you do this? I helped you. I gave you a free ride out of my own. And I was nice to you. I was kind to you, and you turned around and you stung me." The scorpion said, "This is my nature. Whenever I get an opportunity, I take advantage and I sting. So this is how I repay people. This is how I repay others who do kindness or show kindness to me." So there are those in the animal kingdom that are like this. There are even amongst us in the spider world. The spider will even eat their own children. So there are these in different animals, but the main crux of, or the main message from this fable is that there are people in the world that anyone who has ever helped them, they've turned around and hurt that person. So there are people in the world that are like this. But in general, for those who have human nature, for those that are human, then we understand the value of ihsan, of kindness. That anyone who has shown us any kind of favor, has done any favor on us, we in turn, we love that person and we try and repay that ihsan. We try and repay that kindness. Depending on how much kindness that person has shown us, or how much kindness that person shows us, that is how much love and kindness we will try to show back. From the most simple, mundane act of somebody giving us a gift, and by us simply saying thank you, starting with that, then going higher and higher all the way to the level of the parents. Well, how much kindness the parents have had on us from the time we were born. What is it the parents didn't do? And really, what the parents do for the children never realize until they have their own children. We don't really realize what our parents have done for us until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with children. Then you realize how many nights parents spend awake. Some in the middle of the night, the child is crying. There's nothing you can do. The parents give service. Parents will wake with the child, will take care of the child, clean the child, feed the child, take care, especially mothers. There's so much value is given to the love of the mother. What pain the mother goes through for the child before the child is born. And then how much service the mother gives. No, you cannot even quantify it. And it's just in the infant stage. Child starts to grow up, becomes from the infant age, now he becomes a toddler. From the toddler age, he becomes a young child. All this time, the parents are taking utmost effort to look after the well-being of the child. Child has small sickness, snuffles, runny nose, some cold. The parents will spend the whole night awake taking care of the child. And they do it with love. It's not that they're doing it out of hatred to the child. No. They'll give service. Child is hungry. They'll feed the child, clean the child, take care of the child. And this service goes on, not for days, not for weeks, not for months, for years. The parents take care of the child like this. Our child becomes teenager, well into the teenage, 15, 16, 18. And the parents are looking after the well-being of this child. And very difficult. And never do the parents ever say that, oh, you should pay me back. I've spent this much on you and I've done this for you. No. All that service is given for free. That is why it is one of the highest forms of oppression that someone goes and harms their parents. It's very, very difficult, very, very strange. They're real oppressors. Because with all that service, that is why that love comes into the heart of every human being, that reverence, that love, the respect for the parents. But yes, my parents did do a lot for me. Again, this also applies in the rest of society, but to a much greater degree. To a much, much greater degree is the favors, the fadl and grace, and the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us. From the day we are born. Before we are born, what arrangements Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for us. Even in the wombs of our mothers. Sustenance is coming, protection is there. Every kind of arrangement is there in the womb of the mother. Child comes into this dunya, comes into this world. And this is a world of effort. The womb of the mother, there's no effort. Everything was coming free. You didn't have to move a finger. Sustenance was coming, protection was there. Everything was regulated. You come into this dunya, you come into this world. There's effort required, but how many favors Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in place just to take care of us. The greatest favor is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put love in the hearts of the parents for the child. They're ready to do everything for us. And how much air we breathe, clean air. How much water we drink. How much food we consume. How many organs are operating. Just think the force of one organ and the value of one organ. And what regulation system is going. The way our minds work, the eyes work, the ears work, the arms, the hands, the heart, the liver, the kidney, internal organs, external organs. So many favors. أَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِي سَخَّرَ لَكُم مَّا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَأَسْبَغَ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعَمَهُ ظَاهِرَةً وَبَاطِنًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. Don't they see, or won't you say, Alam tara, won't you see, won't you reflect, won't you think, don't you see? أَنَّ اللَّهَ سَخَّرَ لَكُم, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is subjected for you, subjugated for your service, subjected for your service. مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ, whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth. From the rain in the sky to the clean air to whatever is on the earth, all the vegetables and the fruits and the food and the animal, everything. What is there that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not done for us? For our benefit. from the heavens to the earth. You might think, what in the heavens for our benefit? The sun, the moon, the stars, the protection layer of the earth. Do we ever even sit down to think? You know how many rays are out there when you go into outer space? How the freezing air outside of the earth. What regulatory system Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created on this earth just so that the temperature is sufficient for our existence. Sometimes don't we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us and asks us in Surah Luqman in the Quran, Alam taraw, don't you see? Anna Allah sakhara lakum, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is subjected for your benefit. Ma fi samawati wa ma fi al-ard, whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth. وَأَسْبَغَ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَهُ ظَاهِرَةً وَبَاطِنًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has poured onto you the favors. Those you can see, those you cannot see. How many favors we're benefiting from that we can see? How many favors we cannot even see? You put a morsel of food in your mouth, once it goes down your throat, out of our control. What system is going on for our benefit? We don't see it. How the vitamins are being extracted, how the nutrients are being extracted, how the benefits are being extracted, how the different forms within the body, what is beneficial and useful, it is being extracted from what we consume. And then whatever we don't need, it is put in a separate system so that it leaves the body. It doesn't become poisonous. Who is doing all of this? And what kind of system is inside? What Allahu Akbar. We can't even, it's difficult to really understand what system Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put inside the human body. The digestion system, the defense system, the immune system, the various systems working, the blood system, the circulation system, the cleansing system, the kidneys and the liver, what kind of cleansing they do, how much blood they clean every day, how much blood is being pumped and cleaned. All of these favors, and we can't even count them. If you try to count the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll never be able to number them. Al-insan abidul ihsan. This is a very, very famous statement that this human being, insan, the human being, abidul ihsan, he's a servant to those who have been kind to him. The least we can do is be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to a much higher degree, at least that sense of love should be there. When it comes to real love, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that, yes, you might find in this world people who worship idols, people who do shirk, they worship all this nonsense out there. And they'll have some love for the things that they worship. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. But those who truly believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is much more and far greater and more severe and much better love, genuine love the believers have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than what the mushrikeen have for their false idols and their false gods. Because this is what Iman demands. This is what is the essence of Iman. This is what is the essence of belief. Believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we come to our senses and real, and this is also the rabat and connection of this ayah, ayat 165, with the previous ayah, ayat number 164. In ayat number 164, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned for 7 of his ayat in different numerous ways how he sends benefit to us. How many favors and bounties he has given to us. In various forms, in various ways. But if it was left to us, we don't even have the power to even make one tree. مَا كَانَ لَكُمْ أَن تُنْبِتُوا شَجَرَهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us very clearly, you don't even have the power to make one tree grow. Yeah. All this that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, we only put the seed, the tree comes. We don't sit there and try to break this. We're not inside the earth to check that, make the earth fertile enough, and then to break the seed and split the seed and to make sure the seed is put in a certain way. And then when it sprouts, we don't make the seed sprout. We don't have this power. The most we do, we put the seed in the ground, we think we did it. Inna Allah faliqul habbi wan nawa. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who splits the grain and who splits the seed. He makes this small seed, a seed you can crush in your teeth and you can swallow it. That's so small seed. Put it into the ground. You start watering it for a few days, all of a sudden you see this shoot come out of the ground. That same ground that you used the small shovel just to cut through, so much weight, and the small seed now is coming. And from that, the tree starts. And how much come from one seed? The favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You take the apple seed, hundreds of apples. You take the date seed, how many dates come? How much comes from one seed? Where is all this coming? You try and dissect the seed. You will not be able to find all these apples coming. And then inside all of those hundreds of apples are more seeds to make more. Where is all this coming from? This is the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلِلَّهِ خَزَائِنُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belong the treasures of the heavens and the earth. And all this for what? For our benefit. Otherwise, if we were made in charge to make even one seed grow, we would waste our whole life, we wouldn't get it right. We won't be able to get it right. So this is also how ungrateful we humans are. Rather than really loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, appreciating His favors, and really worshipping Him and showing that love through appreciation and worship, how ungrateful we become. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and grant us understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.